Okay, let's get into it. What a way to start the week, right? Build our analysis, trust our plan, plan our trade, and trade our plan. So I'll post a live trading session after this. We were able to catch NVIDIA to the upside, 20% banger on a zero, breaking retest over 218. So great way to start the week. So what am I looking for going into tomorrow? Well, when it comes to SPY and Qs, there really is no higher time frame analysis, right? We're just really looking at the previous day highs and previous day lows. So I'm sorry, no higher time frame setup, I should say, regarding the daily and the weekly. So very strong start to the week. Coming into today on the pre-market plan, I said, keep an eye out here over SPY and Qs over the previous day high. This was a big deal coming into today, just based on how the market closed last week. Because why? It was a confluence. This was not only the previous day high, but this was the previous week's high as well. So you can see today, right, we got a candle closure over that previous day high and previous week's high, which is a great indicator that price is likely to continue higher. And that played out very nicely here. So we had a very big move. Coming into today, it's funny. I actually thought that I was just going to catch SPY and Qs over this previous day high and previous week's high. I love the confluence. And we just had a crazy tank during pre-market. And you can see here our key level was marked out before market even opened. Like I said, I'll upload that live trading session. Buyer stepped up beautifully at 755 and pushed this thing higher. So I know in the future, when or if we get back towards 755, this is a very strong key level here. You can see so far, the last 3 days, just respected on the dot, right? Resistance and then turn into support. We held that very beautifully. Market is still very strong, still very bullish. So buyer stepped up here, 755, and shot this thing up to 760. So that being said, same thing you're looking for, going into tomorrow as you were today. Break and retest over the previous day high. Just looking for that continuation higher here on the market. If we can get above that, we can see just a push higher on this overall market. If you want, you can definitely mark out, this previous week's high, which is going to be here, right? You can mark this out and look for a trade off of that, a pullback long off of that. Today you got that daily candle closure above it. You can look for a retest, break and retest of the previous week's high if you want. Not necessarily something that I look for in trade, but valid setup. You're just looking for shots here for continuation higher on this overall market. So tomorrow, break and retest over previous day high here on the SPY. That's pretty much it. Same thing here on the Qs. Literally same thing. This was a key level coming into today because this was the previous day high and the previous week's high, and that played out beautifully here coming into today. Like we said, same thing, right? If you want to look for continuation higher, you can look for a pullback long off the previous week's high. Like I said, not something I really look for, or just break and retest over the previous day high here on Qs. When you zoom out here, you can see, like I said, there's really no higher time frame setup. Like we're just in a very strong trend. Every weekly candle is just kind of pushing above the previous week's high, and you can clearly see we are just in a very nice uptrend here on the Qs. So you're just looking previous day high, break and retest above that, continuation higher. What am I looking for in the higher time frame on Qs? May not be today, may not be tomorrow, may not be the next day, but you are looking for this pullback here, this pullback long. The trend is your friend, the dip is your best friend. This is where you want to get long on Qs around the 722 area. Read the price action, of course, whether it's individual stocks, options, swing trading, however you want to go for it. But right, we had our consolidation and then we got our next leg higher, but we ended up gapping above this, and ever since we gapped above, it's just been off to the races. We did get a pullback here, but it was doing pre-market, so still need that intraday pullback off of 722. That's really the only higher time frame setup that I see here on the Qs. Other than that, mark out your previous day high and look for that continuation higher. If it's an inside bar day, I'm most likely hands off on the Qs. Tesla. So Tesla's starting the week off bearish, right? I broke this down pretty thoroughly in the weekly outlook and just saying that, as we all know, right, Tesla is definitely lagging behind compared to pretty much everything. I've already said that, so far this year, AMD is still hitting all-time highs. Apple, Amazon, NVIDIA, SPY, Qs. The only major tech name that I'm looking at, outside of Microsoft, of course, that has not hit all-time highs is Tesla, at least this year. So Tesla's actually bearish on the year. This entire year, Tesla's really just been pulling back in a downtrend. Maybe a week or two or three ago, we ended up breaking that trend, but you can see Tesla's really not doing much. So let's start out here. You can see, today, like I just showed you, SPY, Qs to the upside. Look at Tesla, relatively weak the entire day here compared to the overall market. I don't really trade break and retest off previous day lows. I was looking at it just in case it did set up because I noticed pre-market was relatively weak compared to the market, but good skip here. I mean, just not the best price action. You never even got a retest, at least how I trade. I didn't get a deep enough pullback, right? The deeper the pullback, the tighter the risk. So there was really nothing there for me on Tesla. I was definitely eyeing it, but I'm not going to force it. We ended up catching a banger on NVIDIA anyway. But what do I love about Tesla? Well, we pulled all the way down to 416 and we respected our key level on the dot. So what am I looking for tomorrow? Break and retest under 416, or of course, if we gap under, a pop and fade off of 416. This is also a range break here. So let me go to the weekly levels. I broke this down very thoroughly. You go here on the weekly. When in doubt, zoom out. Something I've said about Tesla is, look at our weekly candles, as I always say, right? Focus on where the body of the candle closes. Right, last 3-4 weeks, Tesla's been stuck in between 454 and 416. So this is a range break here on Tesla. 454, this has been really the higher time frame key level on the weekly time frame we've really been eyeing for obvious reasons. All you got to do is look at the chart, and you can see so far this year there are very strong sellers not giving this up. They are not giving up 454. Every time we push up into 454, we just get shot. and it just gets slapped right back down. So you can see here, this week we ended up pushing all the way up into 454, and look how aggressive this candle is. That's how strong sellers push this thing down. So that being said, if we get this range break here on Tesla, very big deal. Very, very big deal. So break and retest under 416 going into tomorrow. It's a range break. I love it. It's a weekly level being respected very, very well. Love the setup. So Tesla starting the week off very, very bearish, as you can see here. I love the confluence here because under 416, it's a weekly level and you're getting under the previous day low. That's a beautiful confluence. I'm looking for that. So that's the game plan tomorrow on Tesla. If we hold 416, it's an inside bar day. We're holding the range. Really don't care to take a trade off that. So keep an eye out here on Tesla under 416 for shorts. NVIDIA, beautiful. I mean, this was just a dot. You'll see this live trading session. Humbly I say this was just a fairly easy trade, and I broke this down very thoroughly. The reason it was an easy trade, and we set this in the pre-market plan, the close watch, and this weekly outlook was just, if you've been trading for a while and you trade the break and retest, it's very simple, right? Over resistance become new support and vice versa. So, like I said, I was going to give NVIDIA grace, this week because this week it was consolidated. It did have earnings, so I wasn't really expecting it to do much, but it just chopped, right? It was just consolidated. But what did it do? It held 218 beautifully. Very strong key level here. We broke it, and then you can see we turned it into resistance. And what did we do after we got under 218? We were sitting in a range in between 218 and 207. So, of course, we didn't really touch anything in here besides when we were looking for the pop and fade off of 218. And then what do we do? Right, like I said, we turned it into resistance. Over resistance become new support. So it was very simple here. When in doubt, zoom out. Always, higher time frame, top-down analysis. So I noticed, hey, we're still very, very bullish on the higher time frame. Right? Just because we're consolidating and we're chopping doesn't mean that the bears are in control. We're still very, very bullish. So I saw this bull flag setting up, and today was just a beautiful confluence on NVIDIA. Why? You got over the previous day high, you got over the previous week's high, and it was a range break. Remember, the more confluences, the higher the probability. So that was beautiful, and then it just had relative strength compared to the market at open, so fairly simple here. It just gave us a beautiful, beautiful setup today. Break and retest. We can go here in the 1 minute. I mean, that was just a dot. Look at that. Break, good displacement, beautiful retest, and we just got that shot right up into the high of day. So what are we looking for here on NVIDIA going into tomorrow? Well, you can see now we're back in this range, which is beautiful, right? Bottom of the range, top of the range. This is where you want to be long around 218. I don't really care to swing trade it, excuse me, so I just played a 0 DTE for the quick move. But nevertheless, well, you know what you're looking for now. Long over 228 or a pullback long off of 218. Remember, this is the breakout. This is the displacement candle. I'm sorry, the displacement candle on the daily time frame today. So we still need to retest that. We got the breakout, need to retest that. So long over 218. I'm sorry, long off of 218 if that sets up, and then of course a break and retest over 228 going into tomorrow. If that sets up, that's very beautiful as well. Another confluence. It's a range break, and if that sets up, you're over the previous day high, which means price is likely to continue higher. So just a dot there on the video. If you go here on the daily, look at that. All I see is a name that pulled back, the dip got bought up, and now we're stair-stepping higher. So that's why you really want to build, these top-down analysis from the higher time frame. I promise you, you'll take fewer trades, and your win percentage will go through the roof. So you can see we're just stair-stepping here. Look at that. That's beautiful. This dip got bought up, this dip got bought up, and now we have a clear shot towards all-time high, especially if we can get over 228. So that's the game plan going into tomorrow. Apple. So I was watching Apple today. After we took our trade on the video, I was sticking around. Market's been, a little slow. Definitely the last 2 weeks. So, if there's some more opportunities on the intraday, I'm definitely going to take my shots. There's no correlation between trades, as we know. But I was looking for this range break here on Apple, which was beautiful, right? It was a very simple break and retest over 313, targeting all-time highs, or you get this range break here, 4-hour key level under 308, and you can see that played out very nicely here. Not the cleanest price action, but it played out. We know how Apple works. So what am I looking for tomorrow on Apple? Let's zoom out here. So we can't forget, it is still very, very bullish on the higher time frame. You can clearly see that here on the daily. But this was pretty much a no-brainer as well. You kind of see like this trend, and then you saw a bear flag set up. So, a break and retest under 308 was an easy call. Just you're under the previous day low and a key level. Remember, confluences. So you want to identify confluences on your setups. So that was very solid. So what am I looking for going into tomorrow? Well, let's see if we can get the pop and fade. Right, we got the breakout here on the daily. Now you want to see the pop and fade off of 408 for this pullback. You're basically playing the pullback here to 301. You can see here on 301, this is a very strong key level. We were consolidating, we got our next leg higher, but we got a very big breakout. We still have not retested that. The trend is your friend, the dip is your best friend. So there's two ways you can go about Apple here. You can play the pop and fade off of 308, right, playing the pullback to 301, or you can just ignore that and wait for this pullback long opportunity for this dip buy off of 301, even 295 if you want. Is a very solid pullback long opportunities here on Apple. It's very, very strong, very bullish, as you can see here on the weekly and on the daily. I wouldn't really care too much, right, for a long over 308. Depends how the price action looks. You're still trading with the overall higher time frame. I don't really like it. To each your own, but I like this big displacement candle under a 408. We got that range break. So if we can turn this channel into resistance and play that pullback to 301, that looks really, really solid. Like I said, less is more. If you want to be conservative, just wait and see if you can get that pullback long off of 301, targeting all-time highs. Big RR trade if that sets up. Amazon. So beautiful here on Amazon. Key level's been respected very well. Amazon's kind of consolidating. Not kind of. It is consolidating, but respecting its key levels. So we drew this out, what, a week or two ago, can't really remember, but we saw this bull flag set up here on Amazon. You can see our key level 256 being respected beautifully. Buyer stepped up, pushed that thing up. You got the bull flag break here, and then you got that shot back up into 275. So beautiful there on Amazon. And then very strong key level here. We see the damage body tells the story. So you can see this 275 is a very strong resistance level. Our body candles keep closing right under it. You can see we basically had, 2 days in a row, daily double top, 275. Sellers are defending this very well. And you can see we ended up gapping down today very, very strong, all the way down to 261.26. So what am I looking for tomorrow on Amazon? Well, this is a range break. That's a very strong key level, and you're under the previous day low. So break and retest under 261, I like it. If we hold the bottom of the range, you can look for a long there. As long as you're trading off your key level, you accept your risk, be a great loser. It's a good shot, right? You're still bullish on the higher time frame. It's a high probability shot. I just like the confluences here. If you get under that, we just rejected the top of the range. You're under the previous day low. And what am I noticing so far this week between Amazon and Tesla? Relatively weak compared to the overall market. So that's a great indicator, something to keep an eye out on. Those are the things you want to look for early in the week. Okay, what names are showing me relative strength? What names are showing me relative weakness compared to the overall market? Because if you can identify that and you can spot that divergence, that's showing you, hey, heavy sellers are in control right now. So, for the fact that, SPY and Qs had a very big dip, pre-market, and it got bought up, and we basically ended the day very strong, but Amazon and Tesla ended very weak and heavy, that's something to keep an eye out for, right? So, tomorrow, what are you looking for? Shorts under 261. If we hold it, like I said, I'm hands off. You can definitely look for that bottom of the range hold, looking for that pushback up into 270 to each your own. Another way you can go about this, because I drew this out yesterday, if you want to make life a little easier, what you can do is just get rid of 270, get rid of 261, and then you can clearly see that is a very nice range in between 275 and 256, right? Less is more. Right? I'm trying to help you out here to show you how less is more, and you can put the probabilities in your favor. Instead of looking for, 5 or 4 different setups, just wait. Either that or either that. See what I mean? So you can definitely look for that. It's still very bullish. You can see 256 being respected very well ever since we turned it into a support. So this is something you can look for. Pull back long, bottom of the range before we get back up, or you can play that break and retest under 256. Very solid there. We clearly see 275 as a very strong resistance level. So you can look for that over 275, looking for that all-time high break and new all-time high. So however you want to go about it, there's no right or wrong way to trade, as we know. You just want to put the probabilities in your favor. So if this seems a little bit more clean, just focus on these two levels, 275, 256, treat it as your no trade zone, wait for the break and retest outside of the range, and go about your trade. Super solid there on Amazon. I actually really like this. This is a name that was on my close watch list coming into today as well. So keep an eye out there on Amazon. Microsoft. So not a name that I trade too much. Not a name that I trade too much, but broke the range. If you zoom out here on the weekly time frame, what was that Microsoft doing and we were staying away from? It was sitting in a channel. It was consolidating 434 and 439. I'm sorry, 398. We were sitting in between that range. So I treated that as a no trade zone, low probability environment. And what do? We finally got that range breakout. So let's see what happens here. I mean, we had a very huge gap here on Microsoft and a very strong week last week on this name. It's not too far away. I mean, you can see it's a key level sitting right here on the weekly time frame, not too far away from highs on the year. We get above that, we can definitely see all-time highs. So it's catching up. It's catching up. That should show you how, behind Tesla is, that now Microsoft is starting to catch up before it does. Nevertheless, what are you looking for going into tomorrow? So a couple of things here on Microsoft, just so I can help you down the road. So today that would have been a gap and go play. That did not set up. So now we're just looking for a long over that. So I like the way it closed today. Very solid to me. As I always say, go into the day with a bias, but never marry a bias. So like I just showed you on the weekly, on the daily, we have a very large gap to the downside. Right? Big gap to the downside. So what am I looking for going into tomorrow? Well, now you're just going to treat this as your no trade zone. Break and retest above that, you're getting over the previous day high. That looks really, really good, very strong. If you get a break and retest under that, 456, you're under the previous day low. And it's a gap fill play to the downside. A lot of thin liquidity, a lot of thin volume in there that has to be filled. This is a higher time frame setup. That is something you want to keep an eye out for. That's where you make your money, right? These are the trades where, you get a breakout in a week or 2 or 3 weeks go by and you forget that we got a breakout of a key level. As I always say, the higher the time frame, the stronger the level, the stronger the trade. This is a big deal. This is a very big deal. You got a consolidation range break on the weekly time frame. Break, retest. This we have to see if this is a hold. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be next week. I was setting an alert here. Keep an eye out for this. Right? Keep an eye out for that. That's a big deal. That's a big setup. That's definitely worth the risk for me to put on a trade there if we get that retest and buyers show their hands. Nevertheless, going into tomorrow, short term under 456, longs over 469. Very simple there. Let your trade come to you on Microsoft. And then Palantir. It's cooking. It's cooking. This is beautiful. Look at that. It's almost there. This 162, that is a very strong level. Look how strong this weekly resistance level is. I've broken down Palantir a handful of times so far this year. I've been emphasizing on this bull flag break On the weekly, that's been setting up. And it's set up, right? Last week, you got that big blow off top. Beautiful. A lot of built up liquidity here. Boom. You got that blow off top. But just look how strong this 162 is. I mean, this is what we've been doing so far the entire year, thus far, on Palantir. It's just been sitting in a range. Palantir hasn't done anything this year. It's just been sitting between 162 and 126. So this is a big deal. And then history likes to repeat itself. All you got to do is look left. Very strong key supply area here. And then today, we push up into it and get slapped in the face, respected on the dot on 162. I was actually looking at Palantir. I almost took this trade. Look at that. Just respected on the dot. You ended up getting a pop and fade off of 162, and this thing pushed all the way back under the low of day. That's a very strong level here on the weekly time frame. So what am I looking for going into tomorrow? Man, long over 162. Don't sleep on it. Do not sleep on it. This is a big trade setting up. This is a range breakout setting up here on Palantir. If you like it, I love it. So watch this 162. This looks really, really good. Wish you the damage body tells the story. I love the reaction there. I want to see those reactions before I take a trade. It just gives me more conviction in my key level. It tells me I did my job identifying that. Now it's time to put my money where my mouth is and take the trade off that level if it sets up. So watch that 162 tomorrow on Palantir. Hope this helps. Hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you on the next one.